We are on a kind of inverted parabolic descent into whatever comes beyond clown world. I can't deny it any longer. I mean, it does feel like there has been a sea change within the culture, and over the last couple of years, various elements in society are just going mask off. They are choosing to no longer hide their anti-democratic, authoritarian tendencies. You know, you're seeing public figures like Sam Harris, for instance. He was on a podcast recently, and anyone that's been listening to Harris over the last couple of years is aware he's so anti-Trump, it's kind of like a mental disorder for him. He has full-blown TDS, right? Trump derangement syndrome. And, you know, he's basically coming out and going, look, here's the deal, guys. I don't care if Hunter Biden has the corpses of children locked in his basement. I don't care if Biden himself is taking kickbacks from this Ukrainian no-show job that Hunter works for, which kind of just seems like money laundering. I'm fine with an actual conspiracy to prevent the re-election of an American president. None of this matters because Trump was that bad, you know? The Orange Man was like a giant meteor hurtling towards Earth, an existential threat, not only to our democracy, but also humanity. And who cares? I mean, Biden could be the worst, most corrupt president of all time, which he is, but that's fine because Blumph. You know, we can't let Blumph get the nuclear codes. Anyone that voted for him is a fucking traitor. It's the same tired rhetoric, this cope we've been hearing for fucking years. It just never ends. Under no circumstances, for you, as this anti-Trump seething man-child, even after countless FBI investigations and inquiries and attempts for the media to dig up dirt on said ex-president, you cannot admit that you were wrong, right? Because that would truly mean the end of the world. It'd be a pure ego death. Pandora's box would open, the sky would implode, and Sam would, you know, he would autoerotically asphyxiate himself, masturbating and crying, and that's how his materialist existence would end in true new atheist fashion. But how could a man like Sam Harris be wrong? A man of science. He's transcended the need for religion. His morals are so advanced, he doesn't need Sky Daddy telling him what's right and what's wrong. You know, he is an advanced human being, except when you boil it all down, you're left with a complete retard, unable to recognize that he has outed himself as a massive hypocrite with seemingly no moral compass whatsoever. The madness of the political climate in the West, it just continues to increase, right? Because lines of communication have broken down. We never returned to normal. The chaos of the 2016 paradigm never ended. And unfortunately, we're beyond Gamergate now. We're beyond boycotting certain entertainment products. You know, I mean, all this seems very frivolous. Demoralization propaganda as entertainment and with a Europhobic edge, that's been par for the course for years. It's the norm now. I mean, no one expects the new Amazon adaptation of anything that you remember as being somewhat entertaining from your childhood. No one expects it to be good because that's not the point of entertainment in a post-C19, postmodern world. But of course, you know, this cycle of change that we're in, I mean, it's like we are in the eye of the storm. Things move quickly. Politically, we are beyond any kind of democratic functioning society. We are in a soft war. This is a soft civil war between hardcore Marxist psychopaths and, you know, I guess, how do we even define the banner of who I consider to be the enemy? Well, they are committed to ideals of Marxist origin, or at least that's their excuse to engage in this praxis. This strange, resentful, faux compassionate system of belief really is just a smokescreen for a direct attack on Western values, the Western way of life. And when I say Western, I mean Western Europe, plus its culture, its people, its art, even its video games. The West has to change, and we've already changed quite a bit, but we're going to change some more. We're going to change until everything is just on fire. Sam Harris is not a Marxist as far as I know, but he is a libtard and he is a gatekeeper. He prevents people from moving too far to the right so that they could actually effectively fight the neo-Marxists, quote unquote. And this goes for the rest of the intellectual dark web too, including Peterson, but also including guys like Steven Pinker and these Zionist science bros. Everybody serves their purpose, I guess. All of the clowns and the talking heads. If the system promotes them or allows them a platform, then they must have a role to play. And that's one faction. So, how do you even define them? The thing about this mass formation is it's all about the gray area. It's all about the undefinable. They've twisted language to make it harder to define them. These Orwellian linguistic games they play, I mean, it's at the heart of the power of the far left. I mean, when you observe the behavior of a lot of these just normie Karens, annoying Zoomer girls, working at some big tech company, they have hardcore Marxist, ideology, right? I mean, and they're spreading it. And they're getting people fired if they don't comply with it, right? So they have willingly stepped into the role of evangelist for whatever this movement is, and I don't want to call it Marxism because that's not quite right, and woke doesn't sound right either. I mean, they would call themselves woke, right? They're woke to the plight of whatever, minorities in the West and women, and they're woke, right? But really, they are brainwashed. I mean, they're the opposite of woke. They are somnambulists just sleepwalking through life, playing the role of a soldier of ideology, and they don't even realize it, right? So, who's to blame here? Well, it's this vapor of pause. You try and strike at it with the sword of truth, and you just pass through nothing. It's very difficult to fight this culture war, and that's why conservatives struggle. Part of it is that they don't understand how to fight this void. It's this weird, formless creature which is like metaphysically evil. I mean, in order to understand evil, you kind of have to be somewhat spiritual, right? I mean, an atheist bugman is kind of blind to evil. He doesn't understand it, he doesn't believe in it. Like, we're supposed to just be okay with the fact that, like, the left has become so radicalized and so morally deranged, it almost doesn't make sense to even be using terms like left and right anymore. Because that's not the battle that's happening. That is another linguistic smokescreen. It needs to be thrown away. Really what's happening is we have hardcore, spiteful authoritarians. Most of them are atheists. In fact, all of them are atheists. They have this Petersonian hatred of their own existence. And they act on this like existential hatred every single day and in everything that they do, right? It's part of the substance of their very being. I mean, Ed Dutton refers to them as spiteful mutants in that, a lot of these people, in the Darwinian sense, they are kind of an expression of dysgenics within society. They wouldn't have even survived without the fruits of the Industrial Revolution and modern medical science, Fact is, I mean, civilization and technology has allowed these people to exist, and in turn, they resent that very existence. Why wouldn't this base nihilism manifest itself politically? Of course it would. It's very interesting. I mean, I've been kind of getting more familiar with Milton's Paradise Lost recently. Incredibly metal work, right? I mean, it's like an epic poem written hundreds of years ago, right? But it's all about Lucifer becoming Satan and hating God, and it's fucking metal, right? But it's very interesting to me, the parallels between, just the point of view of Satan himself, as described by Milton in Paradise Lost. He is filled with this self-loathing, and it's like a bitterness and a resentment. And a hatred of God, right? And it's like jealousy, and it's pure satanic imagery, right? That's kind of what the book conjures up. And it's very interesting to just observe this satanic quality of whatever is calling itself the modern left, the woke movement. It's the same worldview at the end of the day. I mean, it's like I hate God, I curse God, I curse my existence, I hate you, Daddy. There's some of that going on there. It is amusing when you observe the fact that this battle between these nihilistic types that hate God versus people that are just like, excuse me, there is good in the world. I'm trying to focus on a family and take care of them and make my children happy and take care of a woman and achieve success in my field. Like men like that, they can lead very fulfilling lives. And especially if they have some kind of spirituality, then they have a context for the suffering that they have to endure. And these people aren't hurting anyone. And all they want to do is just live a life for themselves. But, we're up against literal Satanists. And then, the left will laugh and go, you Christians, everything's Satan to you. And it's like, but you don't understand how Christians see the world, do you guys? They're observing your behavior, and all you're doing is echoing, the whim of your master, your true spiritual master, like Lucifer himself, who also feels the same way as you, where he's a petulant, childish toddler that hates God and wants to destroy humanity and corrupt their souls just to spite the fact that God exists and he is completely true, completely good, and just fundamentally correct, and not politically correct, but morally correct. And this is metaphysics. You can look at it in this meta point of view where let go of that stupid stereotype that people that understand and think in spiritual ways are ignorant. It's like, that's not it. Jung already figured all this out. Jung took the entire Christian lexicon and he redeemed the idea of God and religious morality, Christian morality, for the modern man. As a kind of rebuttal to Nietzsche, who declared God is dead, right? Which he was meaning to be a bad thing, by the way, Redditors who don't understand Nietzsche. But yeah, if you can look at religion, and world religion as well, as these supreme filtered memes that are so true they become meta-true, and the symbolism contained within can communicate truths about existence and reality that are too complex even for regular language and science, right? So here's the point. Don't throw that shit out, atheists. That's really fucking stupid. And I used to be an atheist, and I was an atheist for like 20 years. But this battle, as I've mentioned in another video, it's this eternal battle between the schizos and the psychos of the world. The point is, you can use different language to describe the same things. You could go full-blown Dante, and you can say this is a battle between the divine, the heavens, and the forces of hell. You can frame it like that if you want. The average normie of our current paradigm, they won't understand it, right? But maybe if you say, look, here's the deal. There's a lot of schizos in the world, and they serve truth, and there's the psychos of the world, and they just want to destroy. They serve chaos. It's the same thing. It's a spiritual war, and it's been playing out throughout all of humanity's history. And there's nothing different about what we're going through now. So that's the way I see it. I've decided to take a full schizo macro view of the current period, and I'm saying we should zoom out so far that you're like a weird monk living on a mountain, Kaczynskian monk, simply observing that although there are these weird, gender-fluid, very bitter, angry activist types, ultimately, they are just inverting the natural order where they go, Feminists want to be men. Feminists deny their own femininity, and they invert themselves, and they're usurping men's traditional role in the civilization that they built. This really is the arrogance of the midwit, right? Just because they have these sources and citations that are all coming from this academic authority, right? They're not questioning whether the authority is legit. And it isn't. It's been subverted by absolutely, we're talking decade after decade since the 60s of hardcore neo-Marxism, postmodernism, far left, it's communism, it's racial communism, racial Marxism, intersectionalism, they're calling it. And of course, feminism is another tendril of this larger mass formation psychosis. This stuff is coming from our universities. Our citizens don't go to university to become educated and be more productive members of society. They go to university to become the next generation of intellectual foot soldiers that, again, are at war with me and you and what remains of our relatively healthy, normal society, even just 10, 15 years ago. These are the people that hold jobs in the entertainment industry, and we're paying them to propagandize to us. We're paying them to remind us that we're the problem, right? According to their dogma, we are evil, right? So again, this is just like the most insidious gaslighting. The fact that we've allowed this woke form of leftism to become the status quo, it's illegitimate, and it should not be just capitulated to outright. competent men of the world just exit society. I mean, this is kind of like a Randian situation. It's Atlas Shrugged, really. It's that, I think Western European men, we have been treated like dirt for too long. I think it's time for us to just fuck off. I think we need to check out of society, and that means that we're going to have to find a way to be independent of it. It's time to go inner woods, as they say. Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably Amazon Prime's Lord of the Rings show that actually pushed me over the edge. Before I'd seen the trailers for that show, I hadn't completely abandoned the idea of society continuing into the future. I mean, there was I had a very small crumb of hope I was nursing, but yeah, I'm done. Honestly, I think it's time. It's like, no more. I don't want to hear any more. There's like some kind of salty Latina or like a black woman chastising me, and she's been doing it for so long, I can't remember when she started, but, now it's time to go, shh, white man coming through, and he's on his way to the exit, and he's about to leave the building, and you guys have fun. Have fun with the burning ruins of Western civilization.